Welcome to So That Reminds Me, Reminder Publishing's podcast discussing Western Mass news. My name is Dennis Hackett.
And I'm Tyler Garnet.
And we'll be your host for today's episode. On this week's episode, we'll be sitting down with John Sacerdote, show manager for the Railroad Hobby Show, to discuss the largest railroad-themed trade show in America that will take place on Saturday, January 24th and Sunday, January 25th, across 4 buildings on the Eastern States Exposition Fairgrounds. The show covers all facets of the railroad hobbies, model railroads, railroad art and photography, railroad history and preservation, tourist railroads, railroad artifacts, and railroad books and videos. Well, Tyler, we're back in the saddle again. I feel like it's been a while since we've been on the podcast.
Yes, it's a while even since I've been on. I know it's a little late into January, but Happy New Year.
Yeah, right. Happy New Year to everybody listening.
All the listeners. We hope you had a good holiday season. Dennis, I hope you had a good one as well.
Yeah, you too, Tyler. I'm fortunately getting off the flu a little bit, so that was a fun post-holiday gift.
Yeah, I'm sure. I know you're not the only one that was running rampant everywhere, so glad you're doing better.
Yeah. What's new with you, Tyler? Anything?
Nothing really. Just kind of getting back into the swing of things past the holidays. Stranger Things is over.
Yes, it is.
I'm sure we could have a whole podcast about that. Yep. But, that's over. Still have a lot of birthdays coming up to celebrate. So, yep. Just enjoying the New England weather. Some days it's warm, some days it's cold. And just excited to, record this episode here today.
Yeah.
What about you?
Well, the girlfriend and I have our first trip planned.
Oh, okay. Where are you guys going?
We're going up to Manchester, Vermont for an overnight stay in a couple weeks.
Oh, nice.
That'll be our first trip away, so that'll be fun.
Nice. That's going to be nice. Yeah, Vermont's really nice.
Yeah. But otherwise, it's just been plugging along, watching the football.
Yeah.
Hoping the Patriots make the Super Bowl. I am getting more delusional by the week, it seems.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
So, kind of shifting gears a little bit, one of the things we're trying to experiment a little bit this year is, I'm sure from 2 years ago, many of the listeners probably remember the format for the show was, getting into 5 stories from around the area, discussing those. We're going to try to bring that back in a little bit kind of shorter form. So each week the hosts will be bringing some of the topics that they saw that were kind of interesting, like from around the area and what's going on.
Yeah.
Just trying something new. And then also after our interview, we'll be kind of recapping the interview, talking about it, what we learned, and going from there. So Tyler, is there anything kind of going on in your coverage area that's been, like top of mind or the people should know about?
Obviously there's been a few. I mean, obviously I know you'll touch on it, but with the new year comes, the official swearing in of new elected officials, whether it's the city council, school committee, your mayor. So that was obviously at the top of my list. But one specific story would definitely have to be the 2 police unions writing a letter about Holyoke City Councilor Israel Rivera. Just to recap that a little bit, if you haven't seen the story online anywhere, Israel Rivera was arrested on December 20th. He was charged with operating under the influence of alcohol. He had 2 civil motor vehicle infractions as well, failure to stop and speeding. He pled not guilty to both. He has a pretrial coming up on January 26th. But the one thing that came out of that as well and was captured by Massachusetts State Police on the body cams and in the police report were some of the quotes he said, besides using some racial slurs, which was not great. He did say, quote, "I'm a city councilor. You can't really work with me. That's fine. I'll cut the budget. Everyone else gets a pass, but I don't." So obviously pretty alarming quotes to say as a city councilor. So basically these 2 unions submitted a letter to multiple city officials in Holyoke, the mayor, city solicitor, the police chief himself, just to raise like an ethics concern of, should this guy be allowed to discuss police matters on the city council? I talked to someone, the president from one of the unions. He did mention how they don't want him removed from the city council altogether, but they don't want him on the public safety committee, and they don't want him talking in any, police matters, whether it's the budget or staffing or things like that. So, that happened last week as of recording. The unions did say they were going to give the city about a week to respond. I don't think they have yet, at least as of recording. And they said past that they're, going to host a press conference because, they really do want to get to the bottom of this. They did also, file a complaint with the Massachusetts State Ethics Commission. I'm going to make sure I just get that right. I'm looking right here. So yeah, that was quite a story to start the new year, especially the news kind of broke after Rivera was elected by his peers as the city council vice president. So yeah, that's something to keep an eye on in Holyoke and I guess the surrounding communities.
Yeah, and then kind of flipping to the new year, obviously, one of the things my team is doing is they're reaching out to their legislators and their towns just to see what's kind of new coming up in 2026. So for this past week, Sarah talked with Senator Jake Oliveira and then Reps Orlando Ramos and Carlos Gonzalez about what they're looking forward to, some of the concerns. Obviously, one of the things is more federal cuts that was brought up by both. Oliveira talked a bit about health care, which is obviously a huge thing with premiums going up pretty much across the board.
Of course.
And then Ramos wanting to bring back some facial recognition technology that was kind of put on moratorium with the Springfield, or with the state really, under Charlie Baker. But so those are a couple of the things they're working on. We're also looking at town by town stuff. We haven't posted any of those yet. But those will be coming up soon. I know Sarah's talking to Sarno in Springfield next week, so that'll be something to keep an eye on the website as well. As always, these things are available on thereminder.com. And then another thing with the kind of change for the year is we're starting to get into budget season.
Yeah.
I know, Tyler, South Hadley is something else.
Yes.
East Long Meadow's just kind of getting started with theirs. But yeah, I figure South Hadley's probably a big topic with the budget task force and everything, with them facing a pretty big fiscal cliff, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah, no, you do. You have remembered correctly. They have identified quite a budget deficit potentially for years to come, and they're trying to tackle that. They have the budget task force that has, to this point, I think they have their second public meeting tonight and a third one coming up to kind of get some responses from the community. But yeah, it seems like this is just the start of it. I'm sure they'll have discussions soon about, maybe even at a special town meeting, they've even discussed to see how they can handle that. Because I know there was talk of, if nothing was changed, they would have to get rid of sports, all extracurricular activities. So yeah, come New Year, not only is it new city councils and new officials, but it's kind of budget season, and it's quickly you're right into the thick of it. So that is something to look at in all communities.
And I think that covers kind of. One thing I did want to mention is it'd be kind of remiss not to mention it, is the wrap up for Toy for Joy.
Yep.
Obviously, we're a big part of that as a media partner with the Salvation Army. But I just want to kind of give an update on the total, that they finished with $94,317, which is a good amount.
That's awesome.
I believe about 20 to 25,000 came in over the last week or so.
Nice.
So that was really nice to see. But yeah, obviously we'll be back again next year. Great way to give back to the kids that really need it.
Absolutely.
And it's just such a big community effort with so many legislators, so many businesses, so many people.
Yeah.
It's always nice to see that every year.
Yeah, it's nice to see everyone come together for a good cause.
Yeah, especially in a year like this year where it felt like so many people rallied together for so many different things.
Absolutely.
But I also wanted to mention our dining entertainment story for the week. There's an ice art festival coming up in Northampton at the end of the month.
Okay.
We're 17... there's going to be 17 frozen art locations throughout downtown, and sculptors are going to be carving all day.
Oh, that's
You'll
really
be able to stop by, check that out.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Definitely got to check that out.
And for more information on that, obviously head to thereminder.com. But I think with that, we're ready to jump into our interview about the Railroad Hobby Show.
Yeah, let's do it.
But before we get into the interview, we're going to take a quick break for some ads.
This January, Prime Magazine is all about connection. In our social issue, we explore how staying connected with family and friends can help you live longer, healthier, and happier. Discover the best apps and websites to meet people who share your passions. Learn how volunteering can help open new doors. And get tips for planning a multi-generational getaway that brings everyone together. We'll even show you how to turn your next workout into a fun social activity, because fitness is always better with friends. And if you're an advertiser looking to reach the over 45 market, contact sales manager Scott Green at 413-525-6695. Prime, your best life now.
We get it. You're busy, but you want to be connected to your local community. If you're not reading The Reminder, Western Mass's free weekly newspaper, you're missing out on the heartbeat of your town. Stay in the loop with all the latest buzz, from local stories to community updates and exciting events. It's all in The Reminder. Just log on to thereminder.com and dive into the hometown news you love. To subscribe to receive The Reminder at your home, call 413-788-1316. Don't miss a beat. Your town, your stories, your community for over 60 years. The Reminder. We are hometown news.
All right, we are here with John Sacerdote from the Railroad Hobby Show. John, do you mind telling us listeners a little bit about yourself and your involvement with the hobby show?
Oh, yeah. First of all, thank you guys for having me on. I really appreciate that. My story began when I was 7 years old in 1957. So if you do that, you do the math, you can tell how old I am. But I was at G. Fox and Company's department store, and they had a toy department, typical of those department stores back in those days. And I was traveling up the escalator, and believe it or not, I could picture it like it was yesterday. Mm-hmm. And I was with my dad, and I saw this biggest layout I'd ever seen in my life, all scenic, trains running, etc. Well, later on, I found out that layout was 8 by 8 feet. It was just a little tiny thing at today's standards anyways. But it hooked me, and it hooked me ever since. And I used to just go to the Railroad Hobby Show as a patron. I just used to show up and look around and all that kind of stuff. I used to drag my son there and after a few years. But then I started to meet some guys that were part of the show. Mm-hmm. And I got more and more involved, and they asked me, hey, would you like to be the clinic manager at first in the early 2000s? And it just grew into, hey, why don't you shadow the show director, the one and only show director at the time? That was 2002, 2003. Mm-hmm. And then he was actually getting on in age. He was in his mid to late 80s. And they made me the show director. So this is my 23rd year, mm-hmm. and I shadowed for the first couple of years, mm-hmm. and it's been a blast ever since. And, we talk about retirement and stuff, and I said, I thought about it, but if I'm having this much fun and I can still get it done, why would I retire if I'm having this much fun? Yeah. And it is fun. So I've been doing this for a really long time, but it was way back in the early or mid to late 50s that got me hooked on model trains mm-hmm. to begin with.
Now, are you a part of the Amherst Railway Society at all? Or
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I was a president. I was president, believe it or not, twice. Back when we needed to buy a building for headquarters, they made me president so I could go out and do that mm-hmm. search, et cetera. So we have a wonderful headquarters in Palmer, Massachusetts, just down from the steaming tender for those that are listening and want to know where. And we have this 1.5-acre garden railroad out back that's under construction, a large HO scale model railroad in the lower mm-hmm. level that's under construction. So a lot is going on. And then I was president again a few years back, just when we needed to get things straightened out for the show and mm-hmm. start doing some better things and stuff. So I don't want to be president anymore, but I am actually now the executive director, and that really just keeps everything on an even keel depending on who the president is and all that kind of stuff. So, but it all works out well. A lot of these guys are my longtime friends now, so it's it's not like a serious business, although if I need to make it a serious business, I will, mm-hmm. but not at the expense of the friendship. So it all works out a lot really well. It's a lot of fun.
Gotcha. And kind of sticking with the Amherst Railway Society, can you tell us a little bit about the Society's work with railroad preservation and restoration?
Oh, gosh, yeah. You know, what's funny is when they started in the early 60s, I have this picture in my head of a bunch of college professors sitting around in the teacher's lounge, and they discovered that, hey, we like railroads. I didn't know you like railroads, so they got together and started to have meetings and such. But in 1991, when it really was starting to catch on, they decided to start giving some money back. So to this date, we've given very close to $900,000 back to other nonprofits that have something to do with railroads.
Wow.
So we're really proud of that. And people say, "Oh, you must be killing it at the hobby show." Actually, we do. But we take, after all expenses to run the show, which are considerable, and pay for our building, which are moderate. But then what's left over after paying for the expense of, continuing to build the model railroad, the garden railroad, et cetera, give it all away. So that's a lot of fun, and we have a pretty standard application window where people will apply for grants, and we do that every year. It's coming up after the show. So from April 1st to the end of May is our window when you can apply for a grant.
Nice.
Awesome. And then I guess obviously there's the hobby show, there's the donations to nonprofits that you just mentioned. What are some of the other things that the society does?
Well, we've learned a long time ago that everybody in this hobby, and not just us, but we're all getting older. And you could see it with collectors. Lionel used to be the number one, and they're still way up there as far as popularity and name brand and all of that kind of stuff. But we're finding that there's a lot of collections out there that are easy to get, and you can't get that much money for them anymore. Not like the old days, just because there's a glut of it from everybody just giving it up, or frankly, as much as I hate to say, they're dying. Because they're all in their 80s and such. So from that generation, there's all this equipment out there. But so we've recognized that we need to do stuff for kids. So we have this program called Kids on Track. And we work very closely with CT Rail, that commuter railroad that goes from New Haven to Springfield. And we also work closely with the people at Union Station Hartford and Union Station Springfield. So we have programs throughout the year. I'll give you just one example. We do Kids on Track, Track or Treat. And that's the weekend before Thanksgiving, or where, as close as we could get anyway, where we have a train that goes from Hartford down to, goes from Springfield down to Hartford and back. This year we had one from Hartford to Springfield and back on the following day. We had 667 kids in costume riding trains.
That must have been awesome.
It was awesome. It was incredible. It's just a great time to see all these kids and their parents. And this is all, not that I'm promoting, but it was for $5.
Nice.
Down and back, the whole bit. You get candies. Ken gives away collection items and stuff, so we're giving kids things as they go. And most of these kids have never ridden a train before, which is incredible, but a lot of fun. And if you've ever ridden CT Rail or Amtrak, for that matter, between Springfield and Hartford, it is a gorgeous ride along the Connecticut River. And in Windsor Locks, it actually crosses over the river. And there's always a massive ooh and ah in the cars when we cross over the river. Yeah, it's like you're gliding over the water. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So we're doing a lot of things for kids as well. And honestly, that's the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, especially exposing them to not just trains, but riding on one as well. Like, it's a new experience for them, so that's awesome.
Exactly. And, we do this in the summer as well. We're going to do a bunny hop right before Easter coming up this coming spring. And it's amazing because, through our e-commerce site, you could tell who's a first-time purchaser. 80% of these people that go on these trips are new, and yet they still say, we've never ridden a train before. So what that means is we're getting a lot of people to ride trains for the first time ever, which is great, for around here anyway.
Absolutely, yeah. the society does great work that you kind of just mentioned, but focusing a little bit more just on the Railroad Hobby Show itself. Can you talk a little bit about how it has evolved over the years from when it first started, to the point now that it's at the Eastern States Exposition?
Oh yeah, great. Thank you for asking that, because then I could fall back on that beginning of the meetings where they're all sitting around. I imagine this smoke-filled teacher's lounge,
yeah. And
they say, "Hey, I didn't know you play with trains. I play with trains." And so they actually got one of the rooms at the University of Massachusetts in Amherst, and they started showing off their stuff, and it spread, and friends found out about it. They wanted to go too. So that it eventually grew into the student union, and it got so big that they had to leave, and they went down to one of the first buildings in the early 80s down at the Big E. And from there, it grew from that one building, the New England Center, to the Better Living Center, half of it. Back in those days, they have a curtain that ran across the back of the whole place to the entire BLC. Then they expanded into the Young and then the Stroh building, which is now called the A building. It's that little building just between Young and the Coliseum. And then I came on board, and when I looked at how many people were on the wait list, of which there were like 280 people waiting for years to get into this show, I said, we have this other building, the Mallory Complex. It's as big as the Better Living Center, even a little bit bigger. I said, let's open it up, and we'll have that many. So this year we have 396 exhibitors in over 350,000 square feet, and there's still 250 people on the wait list.
Oh my gosh.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Jeez.
So it is now the largest show in North America, and we have people coming who purchase tickets from South Korea, from Germany, from UK. I actually have this year, her name is Dawn Quest, and it's Model Railroad Quest. She's a correspondent from the BBC coming as a VIP to the show this year.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's cool. So we get a lot of guests from everywhere. It's a lot of fun.
And then I guess, what can people kind of expect from the show? Is it kind of like an all-encompassing look at the hobby of trains and railways and everything?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you. It's everything trains. So everything from modeling, purchasing of cars in all different scales, from Z all the way up to trains you could ride on. But it's so much more than just that flea market aspect of it. Every major manufacturer on the planet is at this show. Every dealer that has large hobby stores, distribution centers, they're all at this show. But more importantly, all these historical societies are at this show. All these museums are at this show. All these places where you could still ride trains in the Catskills up in Maine, all over the United States, down in Rhode Island, are at this show. So if it's got something to do with railroads, they're at this show.
Awesome. And then is this like a good way for people to kind of get into the hobby of like trains, and is like a good educational type of experience?
Yes, incredibly educational, with clinics throughout the day. But one of the things we started maybe 7 or 8 years ago are 2 days of clinics on Thursday and Friday before the show. So it's an extra fee, but it's at the Sheraton Monarch Hotel right in Springfield. It includes breakfast, it includes lunch, but it's 2 full days of educational, hey, here's how you do this stuff. And many of the clinics are make and take, which means you work on something, you get to take it home with you.
Awesome.
Great. And is there anything new to look forward to at the event this year?
Yes. We always are trying to outdo ourselves.
Nice.
So we have this nice welcoming for the exhibitors on a Friday evening. I'm always looking for new vendors that have new and exciting equipment. We have a company there that has a scanner. If you've ever seen the behind the scenes of the Matrix movies where they had all those cameras in all the directions, and it revolves, the camera revolves. Well, we have a guy that has 30 or so cameras all around, presses a button, and he'll scan you, take your picture from every single direction, 360 degrees, and he'll print you out yourself on a 3D color printer. So it comes out in color, and there you are, about 2 or 3 inches tall.
That's really cool.
It's scary because it looks exactly like you. So if you have an expression on your face, it shows.
Wow.
It's really very cool.
That's awesome.
So yeah, we use them like trading cards. I'll give you 2 John Sacerdotes for 3 Dick Joyces, and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of fun. But he'll be there. But one of the things we're doing on Sunday morning is we're having the Brunch Express. So we have rented a train for ourselves. It's an extra. It leaves Springfield at 7 a.m., heads down to Hartford Union Station, where they've decorated the entire Great Hall in this really gorgeous brownstone building. It's probably close to 200 years old. But we're going to have a brunch, a breakfast brunch buffet there. And then we're going to run you back up to Springfield. We have shuttles waiting for you to take you over to the show, all before the show opens at 10 o'clock.
Awesome.
So, yeah, it's a little bit of an early start, but what the heck? It's another free. It's another event that's, it's not free, it's $20, but big deal. Down and back
sit, relax,
for
get some
$20.
food. Yeah, unbelievable.
Food, yeah. And a lot of our exhibitors wanted to sponsor it. So we do have 4 sponsors because they're taking their friends, people they want to talk to. So it is a great time to develop relationships between each other.
Awesome.
So that's new this year. Awesome. I don't know what the heck we're going to do for next year.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
If you guys have any ideas, let us know.
Those are 2 great new items this year, so that's going to be impressive.
So then I guess, like, what goes into the planning every year? Obviously, it's 4 buildings. The biggie, like you just mentioned, there's the breakfast and the shuttle and everything. Like, how do you kind of plan that each year?
I don't know. I don't know how it happens. Actually, what happens is I'll give you the year at a glance. We fall asleep during February because we are exhausted.
Sure.
Yeah.
But it starts in March right away. The first thing we do is start negotiating with the hotels again for the rates. The one thing we have going for us, the hotels are really good to us, but it's the dead of winter, and they're not doing much else other than having our train show.
Yeah.
So we always get great rates from about 15 to 20 hotels. So they're all on the website. Many are already, they've been sold out since the beginning of December. So we'll start renegotiating with the hotels. We'll start gathering right after, the week after, we have a hits and misses meeting. What did we do that worked? What did we do that did not work? You know, we pat ourselves on the back very quickly for the hits, but the misses are the stuff we want to concentrate on because we just want to be better and better. So we'll do that and we'll react to that. How can we do something about that? And then we'll start to develop all the paperwork in April and May. Contracts. You have to have a contract come to the show. It's an invitation-only show. So we'll redo those contracts, make it easier for people to fill out. All that happens, and contracts go out by the end of July. So this is all happening almost a month after the show is over. So it starts up right over again. So contracts go out end of July, and then from the end of July, so let's say August 1st to October, end of October, that's when we're waiting for contracts to come back. And there's a lot of, well, can I have this extra table? Can I move to over here? So if you could picture that little square puzzle that we used to play with when I was a kid anyway, when it had numbers 1 through 15 and you try to slide them around they're all in the same order. That's all I'm doing.
Gotcha.
Only with exhibitors on a bigger scale. So that happens until the end of October. And then we're collecting money and et cetera during all that time. And we publish the first weekend in December as far as here's the first iteration of the plans. And then that's when Bedlam begins. Oh, I didn't want to be there. And honestly, my game is let me try to fix every single thing I can. And I want to make everybody happy. That I'm a middle child, so that's my problem. So we try to do that. And most of the time I could get it almost all, if not all. And so between that December 1st and showtime, it's just a lot of, let me see if I could adjust and make all these arrangements. Some people have to cancel, from health reasons. Some people die, believe it or not, every year. It's a shame, but it happens. Again, that's got to do with the age of this hobby, But from the wait list, I get people to fill in those spots right away. So now it's actually the week of the show. Okay, so when this airs, it's the week of the show. So on Wednesday we show up and we move in. I stay up there, and we'll survey the buildings even though we've shot it all with lasers ourselves, but we want to make sure the tables are laid out correctly.
Yeah.
1,600 tables, 8-foot tables.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a work.
Yeah.
Because they're older wooden tables. They're
Yeah.
not, they have to be to support all the inventory.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
So we'll do that on Wednesday. And Wednesday night, we'll start setting up tables. Thursday morning, we'll start setting up tables. Thursday, the layouts come in, of which there are over 50. And then Friday is the day from Hades. Excuse me. Because everybody shows up, to set up. That's generally setup day.
Yeah.
And I'll inevitably get, I didn't know I've been moved here. I don't like that. It's been published for 3 months. Where you been? So there's a lot of that, and I wanted an extra table, but that used to aggravate me when I was a rookie. It doesn't anymore. I just try to accommodate. So there's all of that. But then the show opens on Saturday morning, and it's a life of its own.
Sure.
There's already gazillion people at the door. We have a big-time grand opening that I will not share on the air for this opening. But in the past, we've had air horns from locomotives sound exactly at 9 o'clock when it's time for the show to open. Well, this year there's more.
Okay.
Surprise, surprise.
I like it, yeah. Get the listeners wanting to go there, absolutely.
Yeah. So we'll do that, and we'll do that both days. And then Sunday night, we actually used to close at 5. And it's so exhausting to be on your feet on cement for 10, 12 hours a day, both days. So when we closed at 4, exhibitors were really thankful. And this way they could actually catch flights out of Bradley that night.
Sure.
Some of them. They pack up, they ship, and they take the late night flights out of Bradley, which they never used to be able to do in the past. So we accommodate them by that. And just that 1 hour made a big difference for those guys. So that's what happens. And then hits and misses meeting that following Wednesday. And then off we go and start it all over again.
Yeah. I'm exhausted just listening to what you guys have to do. I mean, that is quite a process. I hope you have some help, obviously.
I have great help. I have wonderful guys helping. I get 10 or 20 guys for the surveying crew. That same crew turns into the table setup crew. And then I have lead floor managers for each of the buildings that are in charge. Yeah, I don't say anything because they have the final say as far as where. But there's a lot of things in the background that a lot of people don't realize. There's 5 fire marshals there, all for the whole weekend to make sure the aisles are appropriate, et cetera. The population grows so much over the weekend that we have to have 2 EMTs and an ambulance on site.
Yeah.
So a lot of people don't realize all the extras. Police out on the street, it's backed up all the way to the highway.
Jeez.
It's very much like the Big E
Yeah.
in terms of that kind of logistical. But the Big E is wonderful. They have parking people directing us. They treat us like we're super special, which we love. But we've been going there for 45 years.
Yeah.
So we have a wonderful relationship with the people at the Big E. So it's great.
Yeah, and you've mentioned just how many people come to this event every single year. What is the turnout actually like? In terms of
20 last year we had 27,535.
Wow.
I'm really trying for 30,000 before I don't do this anymore.
Sure.
Or when I'm in a worse mood, I'll say before I die. so we're hoping for that, but we'll see what happens. A lot of it depends on the weather. So we're sometime around December, I'll get my hands on anything, Farmer's Almanac, anything I can that'll predict the future.
Yeah.
And now we're getting really close where the 7-day. You can't trust a 14-day because you never know what the heck's going to happen.
You can't trust it until like 3 days in.
Sometimes you can't be trust day of.
By Wednesday or Thursday, I'll know what the weather for the show is going to be. When we have great weather, we have great crowds.
It makes sense.
But even when we had a snowstorm 3 or 4 years ago on a Saturday, we had like 6 inches or so. There were still 4,500 people at the show. Wow. The exhibitors didn't feel anything because the people that made it there were the people that want to spend money.
Yeah.
So they said this was great because it's not. There aren't any crowds, and I still made the same amount of money. But when you go on a Saturday when people are looking for all those fancy deals and the things before they're sold, it's extremely crowded. You're actually walking down the aisles, which are 10, 12 feet wide. You can't see the cement floor. It's just person to person all the way across.
Yeah.
But it's a blast. It really is. And that only lasts while people are in. And then once they filter around and spread out, then it's reasonable. Sunday is more of a family day, believe it or not, but there's a lot of things going on for kids. The largest Lego layout on the East Coast is there, set up.
Nice.
Over 100 feet long, 50 feet wide.
Wow.
And then there's a kids ride on a train, trackless train, and there's just all kinds of things kids could do. So
Awesome.
Well, that was my next question. If it was a good family event, but it sounds like it is with lots of stuff for kids and everything.
yeah, there's a whole play area for kids that's carpeted and benched so the parents can relax and watch their kids play on these little Brio, those wooden toy train layouts that you could put together. Stuff. So yeah, there truly is something for everybody. Even we have some funny things too, but there's quiet rooms for kids with special needs, so you could go to a quiet room and relax. It looks like a living room.
Yeah.
It's away from all the noise of the train show. Because with that many people in the buildings, there's this low drone that can irritate some people. It irritates me, but it just being silly, of course. But so we have that private. We have an exhibitors lounge. That kind of thing. So we do everything we can think of. We have a company there that rents scooters for people that need to get around on scooters.
Nice.
So we try to think of everything, but every once in a while someone will come up with a new idea and go, "Oh, we should do that."
Yeah.
So that's how that works.
Awesome. And then I guess, what do you think it is about kind of trains, railroads, the whole hobby that kind of brings so many people together for this event?
It's not a mystery to me, but it is a phenomenon. There's something about a moving train on tracks. If you're on the spectrum or if you have Asperger's, they want predictability, and tracks do predict where the train's going to go. And in working with the president of a couple of those organizations, they were explaining that to me. I said, "Oh, who knew?" So we try to do stuff for those kids as well. But it's very interesting. That we'll try to do everything we can to help those kids and anybody else for that matter that needs that. So, using that as an example, even with us, there's something. It's almost like a magnetism, When you see a moving train, I always stop and go, "Ooh, what's that all about?" Even in the mall, So there's just something about a train going, especially in scenery and stuff like that. I want to see what's going on.
Yeah.
Because my favorite thing to do, there's a lot of things you could do in this hobby. There's a thing called rail fanning, where you can go out and watch real trains. That's not me. Although I don't mind it, but I don't need to go chase trains across half of Massachusetts. But some people love that, and I think that's wonderful.
Yeah.
I respect that. I want to go to a model railroad and say to the guy about 700 times, "How'd you do that?" That's my thing. I want to learn how people did certain things so I could apply that to my own model railroad that takes up most of my basement, by the way.
Yeah. I'm sure, and kind of the next question we had might be the most difficult because we can tell how passionate you are about model railways that you just mentioned. But what's your favorite part about the event and the Society's work?
Oh, my goodness. My favorite thing about what the Society does is give the money away. My second favorite thing, and it's really tied, maybe a little bit behind, is I love the work we do with the kids. My favoriteest thing about the event is like maybe 5 o'clock on Sunday night when it's over. Not really. My favorite time is everything leading up to the show when it takes off. Even the Friday, the day from Hades, that can drive some people crazy. I just love everything right up to the show, and then I just sit back and watch the show.
Yeah.
So it's the prep that I really enjoy.
Nice.
Believe it or not.
Yeah.
Then I guess, where can people go to purchase tickets?
Oh, online, railroadhobbyshow.com, or at the door.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so right up to the second, you could get them.
Nice.
Right up until 3 o'clock on Sunday. So the top secret is if you come after 3 o'clock on Sunday, you don't have to pay. But there's very little left.
Yeah.
If you're coming just to watch, cool. Because at the end of the hour of the last hour of each day, you don't pay for a ticket.
Gotcha.
Because there's an hour you can't even see but one building.
Yeah.
So you could get tickets online very easily. We use the Big E ticketing process, and you could have it's much like when you go to a basketball game or a hockey game at any of these. You have the QR code, the barcode, and they just scan it. And boom.
Oh, nice and easy. Yeah.
But you get a bracelet at our show, so you could go from building to building.
Nice.
Yeah, so you don't have to. You just show your bracelet, and boom, you walk right through.
Gotcha. Yeah. All right, well, I think that pretty much is all the questions we have, unless there's anything else you wanted to add.
No, I'm great. If I wanted to add one thing, it would be thank you again for having me on. I really appreciate
thank you for
it.
coming.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Yeah,
no
this
problem.
was awesome to learn about. I'm looking
Cool.
forward to it.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Awesome.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Appreciate it.
All right, and we are back after our interview with John Sacerdote. Tyler, so what did you think? I thought that was one of the better interviews we've had in a while, it seems like.
Yeah, wow. I mean, I know he's been involved with the show, the society for a while. He mentioned, his love for model railway trains since he was young. But yeah, what great information he was able to provide. And, just really, I was able to look up a lot about the show to learn about it because it's my first year hearing about it. And there was stuff that he told me that I was still shocked about.
Yeah, and there's a difference when they're telling it to you, too, as opposed to looking it up online. Because we can look up whatever, but it's nice to hear it from, the people that are involved, too.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the turnout itself was crazy, but I just can't believe how many exhibitors they have.
Yeah, almost 400.
Yeah,
that's nuts.
With a wait list of like 250. It was interesting to hear how it's evolved over the years of just like a group of people who had a common, love of, model trains, and now it's grown into, 3-4 buildings, and it seems like they could really do 9 or 10 buildings with how much, popularity this event has grown out to. So I thought that was really interesting.
And I want to say that I went to this when I was like little. Like it sounds extremely familiar every time it's brought up. I don't know if my grandparents might have taken me to it or something, but I don't know. I always thought trains were kind of cool growing up too.
Same. I mean, he mentioned at one point that he's always interested. I think of just any grocery store I've been to, a doctor's office as a kid when, the train would go around on, on the ceiling and stuff, and I was always mesmerized. Probably if I was, I'm 26 years old now, I'd still be mesmerized seeing it on the ceiling.
For sure.
It really is one of those fascinating things. You see, a train going around the track, and you could probably watch it for a while.
And there's so much history with trains, too, with bringing the whole country together pretty much through railroads and stuff like that. Like, there's just so much there. There's so many old, I think it's Chester has a railway society or something. They have a historical museum. I remember doing a story when I first started here. Like, there's so much about railroads and everything that it's just kind of omnipresent, I feel like.
Yeah. And it's it's a pretty popular hobby, I feel like. A lot of people do get into it. I feel like it's portrayed a lot sometimes in TV and movies as, usually the husband having that kind of hobby. The first one that comes to mind is The Sopranos, Bobby getting into that and stuff. But, it's a hobby, because there's so many things you can collect, and there's so many people out there selling or looking to buy stuff that I'm sure it's a great group to be a part of.
And with the models especially, it feels like that's such a creative hobby too, where it's like figuring out how you want to make your setup look and tweaking it and changing it or doing stuff like that. I don't know. It just seems like a very interesting hobby to have.
Yeah, exactly. And, he mentioned it's kind of like his whole basement. And I'm not saying I don't know how big his basement is, obviously. But, when you see it on TV or videos of it anywhere, they have this huge table and they have, the scenery. They have mountains, tunnels. I mean, you could add a little building. You could add whatever you want. So there is a lot of, personal creativity that goes into it.
And I thought it was funny that he had mentioned that, you just sit and watch, anywhere there's trains or whatever. But I remember when I went to Glow Hartford a few weeks ago, they had, a train running around the track. And, after my girlfriend and I walked through the, light show and everything, we just sat down and just watched the train and people riding it. And it was, I don't know, something about trains, I guess.
It really is. I know. As he was talking, the more and more I thought about it, I went, this is actually really interesting. And I'm looking forward to hopefully finding time on Saturday or Sunday to check this out. Yeah,
no, that would definitely be cool to see, just to see it in person. But all right, Tyler, any other thoughts you have, or
no?
Think you're good.
I think that was a great interview. I loved the event itself, but I like how he touched on how much they do for the kids as well,
Yep.
or anyone who's never ridden on the train or rode on the train before.
Yeah, what is it? The track or treat? That sounded
Yeah.
really fun.
Yeah,
where the kids all dress up and
Yeah, and they had over 600 kids riding just from Springfield to Hartford. It's good to, and then Hartford and back. What was that, 30 minutes or something? A train maybe even less. Whatever it may be, quick train ride to kind of introduce them to that and have fun on it. So I think it's a great way, and all the money they give back too.
yeah, that's incredible. I think I was looking it up, and I think it's close to $1 million that they've given away over the years.
Yeah.
Since like '91, I think he had said.
Yeah, which is just great when any organization can do that, and any money they make that they give most of it, if not all of it, back to the community who helped them kind of get where they are not even where they are, but children as well, the future. It's really nice to hear.
Yeah, just to give the correct number, it's $829,000 that they've given up over the years.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I think that's all I had to say on it as well. But if, again, for anybody who wants to go, railroadhobbyshow.com is where you can buy the tickets, or like they mentioned, you can get them at the door, or the last hour is free on Saturday and Sunday as well. Obviously at the Eastern States Exposition as well.
Yep.
But, all right. I think with that wraps another episode of So That Reminds Me. Thanks for listening. We'll be back with another episode in a couple of weeks.
Thanks for listening to So That Reminds Me, produced by Western Massachusetts news source Reminder Publishing. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, find the latest news at thereminder.com, and follow Reminder Publishing on Instagram at Reminder Publishing, on X at The Reminder MA, and on Facebook. Reminder Publishing, we are hometown news.